Hey y'all, I didn't want you to think that this was going to become a faceless YouTube channel. So it's me, Doc, your buddy. All right, let's talk about what books came out this week that I picked up. I think you guys are going to be pleasantly surprised, as was I. All right, so we're still hanging in on this particular set until I can get finished organizing my books. I did go through about 2 boxes today. I've got about 6 or 7 boxes left, so hopefully in the next few days to the end of the weekend, or the beginning of the next weekend, I can get the comic book room in order enough to move all the books off of the kitchen table and go from there. Anyway, to start off, we have our book of the week, and this is Conan the Barbarian, issue number 26 from Titan Comics, and written by Jim Zub with art by Diego Dagnino, I'm sorry. And it looks really, really awesome, guys. The artwork in this book, the story is top-notch. I was going to say at one point that this felt like it was very heavy. It felt like it was 2 to 3 times heavier and longer than the actual comic is. But you know what? I like my Conan stories to be multi-layered. And here we have Conan showing off not only his physical prowess, but his mental prowess as well. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why that screen keeps going dark. Let's see if we can fix that for just a second. Maybe that'll do better now. All right, and you've got the Aquilonians, and you've got the Road of Kings. You've got all of these very special forces coming together, and Conan has got to, like I said, show up with the brains as well as the brawn. And in here, he shows a little bit of deviousness because his forces, that he's pretty much the third in command, they go against a larger force. And he says, wait, if I can take about 3 or 4 men, we can rout them in the evening when they don't expect anybody. We can swim across, we can break in like a Trojan horse, like a living, walking Trojan horse, and we'll hit them before they even know what hit them. And so he does, chopping people's heads off, attacking with just brute force. This is Conan at his greatest and at his strongest. And as we get to read this and see the awesome detailed artwork in here, the story itself is what just keeps bringing you back. You get to see Conan, like I said, not just as a barbarian, but you get to see his guile, his thought process, why and how he became such a force of nature. And it's just so much fun, guys. It's an absolute blast to read this book each and every month. So I hope you guys checked this one out. Next up, we have, oh my, Batman 162, Hush 2, Part 5. And here we get to see Batman go against the Bat family. And as he's going through all of these questions that he gets, why did you save the Joker? Even Catwoman gets in on this, and she says, I just want to talk. I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight. And she says, you have a family. And he says, I never asked for any of that. And she says, I really want what's best for you. So this is kind of like the Die Hard of Batman comics, because Jim Lee has still got really great artwork. It kind of feels a little rushed, this issue, so I'm not really sure if that's because he just had to push it to get it out in a decent amount of time, but overall, it's an absolutely amazing addition to this story, and it sets up for the first half's conclusion, which supposedly is going to come out next month. So it'll be awesome to go back once I have the first 6 issues and reread this in one big fell swoop. It'll be amazing to get to go through not only the regular issues, but so far I've managed to be lucky enough to get the giant-sized issues for each one of these comics that's printed at that 11 by 17 size that the original artwork was done on. So those books, in case you haven't seen a copy of one of those, hang on a minute, let's not do an ad. Let's do some of this awesome Jim Lee artwork. How about this 2-page spread here with Damien, the boy wonder. You get to see the rain, you get to see the motorcycle, you get to see all of these awesome details, and even bigger size. So I just had to show that off, guys. But if you like Batman, if you like Jeff Loeb, I don't think that you will be disappointed in this issue. Okay, next up we have Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, The Rite of Spring, 4, I believe of 6, by Patrick Horvath, and letters are by Hassan Otsman Elhal. And here you get to see Samantha continue to toy with her prey, the sister who's trying to find out what happened to her brother. And throughout this whole thing, you've got this awesome watercolor artwork that kind of reminds you of a kid's book, but at the same time, it is so twisted and so vile. You know, Samantha doesn't really have time, I don't think, to kill and to maim and destroy in this issue. She is too busy playing and toying with this woman's emotions. But you get to see that she's still thinking about such things. And then you get to see this turtle here, and he goes off to go for a walk, to go outside, and they end up finding out that they can help out at this nursing home, because as he's going through the nursing home to get a disc, I think he was getting a trial disc, like an AOL trial disc, and he goes to the nursing home and nobody's here. And so finally he says, you know, hey, I found a disc. And as he's putting it in his pocket, then he hears a scream from back, hey, somebody's at the desk, we need help over here. So they go to help this poor guy here into a wheelchair. Meanwhile, Samantha has set this woman up, you know, as a kind of a, not really a power line worker or anything like that, but she's gone to inspect this home, and in the home she's looking for a booklet, you know, something that can help her figure out more about her brother. And it's almost like an Easter egg hunt that Samantha has put out there, where she's got all of these different little pieces that she's, you know, I've got a feeling of what she's going to do, and I don't want to spoil the ending of this because I don't know that it's going to end this way. But I have a feeling that she's just going to toy with her until the woman finally gets smart enough to put all the pieces together, and then Samantha's going to try to kill her. But I'm not sure whether or not this woman is going to be smart enough to figure out the whole game before the ending. But if you like twisted fairy tale type books, this book is probably for you. All right, next up, we have Green Lantern Corps, issue number 10. This one is by Morgan Hampton with Fernando Pasarin and a bunch of other inkers. And here we have Morgan Hampton by herself. And John Stewart, apparently in an earlier issue, instead of sacrificing himself to help the other Green Lanterns defeat the Starbreakers, instead he split himself into two. And so this shows one of the sides of John Stewart, who was at one time attached to Fatality, who's now in a prison cell on Oa. And instead of getting into fisticuffs, he tells her, he says, I want to talk. I want to discuss these things rather than just fight. And he's like, it doesn't get anything, it doesn't do anything. He's looking to better a situation. And so he ends up saying, there's another Xanshi, which was Fatality's home planet. And she says, you lie. And he says, no, just let me show you. It's not a copy or some alternate version of your home. It's your home, like it was never destroyed. And so it's kind of like this John is very similar to Hal Jordan's Spirit of Redemption rather than Spirit of Vengeance, because he's attempting to give Fatality a chance to go out there and right the wrongs that she did to so many other people. Now, that could be a good thing, or it might not be. We just don't know. But we're going to wait and see whether the redemption of Fatality sticks, or if there's a reason why she's called Fatality. And this book as well was absolutely top-notch. It was fun. It was exciting. It was good to see somebody try to do a redemption arc on a character rather than just say, well, they're all bad and they'll be bad forever. This book has really surprised me how good it has been and how strong it has stayed. So I'm really hoping that if Jeremy Adams is stepping away from this book, that the high quality remains. All right, we're almost finished, guys. Next up, we've got Spawn, issue number 370. And in here, we see him try to talk some sense. There's a lot of talking this month. There's a whole lot of conversation instead of a bunch of action. But Al Simmons goes and talks to Blood and says, I've got these wings now. But heaven and hell are both trying to play you. They're trying to play us against each other. And he says, they've always wanted domination. That's nothing new. And so Blood gets pissed off and he says, we've survived thousands of years against them all and all of you, and we'll do it again. And Spawn says, you're wrong. He says, I'm here to get vengeance, just like you want. And I just can't get over this Brett Booth artwork, man. The man has been on the book for 20 issues now without taking an issue off, and we still get absolutely beautiful, violently beautiful, but absolutely beautiful 2-page spreads, just like this one. So each time I think about dropping Spawn, then I get pulled back in. So awesome job, Todd McFarlane, Brett Booth, and company. I'm looking forward to reaching issue number 400 of Spawn very, very soon. All right. I really should have made this the book of the week, because you know what? Out of the 13 now issues that I've read of this story, this is the first one that actually made sense. It's where it's kind of like the first 12 issues have been where all the puzzle pieces were getting put together on the board and being moved into place, kind of like a game of Risk, where you have to put all of your generals, you have to put all of your different aspects of war together before you can actually move. Or like an older Final Fantasy where you have turn-based combat and you have to wait your turn. Well, this book's turn has finally come, and when it did come, it's awesome. Absolutely amazing stuff here. So we've got Kieran Gillen and Casper Wingard, and here we have Valentina and all of the supers meeting with Etienne in his new form, and Etienne's trying to explain why he has not really rule the world like God, but he has tried to fix the flaws that he sees in God's plan. And he says, I'm growing in power each and every day, and I'm trying to build a better world for all of us. And he said, I can reach into anybody's mind almost at this point. And as I reach into their mind, then I get the opportunity to see that they're going to make a really bad decision, a piss poor decision, pretty much, that's going to end up hurting somebody, that's going to end up causing them pain. And I can stop them. And if I stop them by making these little moves, isn't it better than all out warfare like Heavy wants? Isn't it better than to just, drop a nuke when instead you can take out with a sniper one or two key players? Or you can reach into somebody's mind, and if they were thinking about murdering somebody or even just, a small infraction, if I reach into their mind and make them better, then how have I done wrong? It's almost like Miracle Man. Does great power truly corrupt, does absolute power corrupt absolutely? That's a question that you have to ask yourself. And through this, you get to see it does. The answer is that it does. Now, was Etienne going and murdering people each and every day? No. But he was mucking with people's thoughts. He was inserting himself into situations that, while his intelligence could understand all the intricacies of why we do the things we do, why do we talk to somebody, why do we have an affair, why do we go and blow up some country that nobody's ever heard of, why do we do these things? Because there's a multitude of biases going on in our mind. There are thousands of facets of why we do what we do every day. And so his intellect could understand that, but he couldn't reconcile himself to say, you know what, I'm going to let these people do what they're going to do, and it's going to be a worse world for that. Instead, if I go in and pick a little bit of somebody's brain here and move a little bit of somebody's brain there, we can create a utopia. So, an interesting book. Now that I finally see kind of all of the pieces in motion, not just being put on the board, but they're in motion. So, this is going to be one that I'm going to pull all 13 issues out one night and just go back and reread it all in one fell swoop. And I bet my head will explode. Because those first 12 issues were really, there was some heady stuff there, man. And it was hard to keep up with who was what and all of the moving pieces. The first 2 issues or so, it just seemed like a superhero epic that was going to be in the vein of Miracle Man. And then it turned into something so much headier. And now it's great to see that we're finally getting to see the payoff of all of this think tank. All right, and last but definitely not least, we have issue 26 of the Transformers by Robert Kirkman and Dan Mora. And in this issue, we get to see Thundercracker, and he is doing everything that he can to save his brother. Let's see. Yeah, Thundercracker is trying to save Skywarp. And the thing about Skywarp is that he's been caught up inside Teletran 1, which is the Autobot base. And he's trying to... Thundercracker wants to break him free. And the Autobots keep telling him, no, if you remove him from his, bonds right now, which is being intricately melded into Teletran 1, you'll kill him. This is the only thing keeping his spark alive. So the Autobots, again, and especially Optimus Prime show why so many kids back in the 80s see these characters as some of the greatest imaginary characters that have ever been created, and especially Optimus Prime being one of the greatest characters that was ever thought about. So you get to see all of these different pieces going back and forth and coming together in such a really, really beautiful way. So I heard the bad news the other day that Dan Mora is only going to be the artist on 6 issues of Transformers, but I'm really, really looking forward to all of the great artwork and all of the great stuff that he and Robert Kirkman apparently are building to in this 6-issue story arc. So guys, that is what I bought this week. That is what I read. So let me know down in the comments what you thought about my haul, and what did you guys pick up? What are you reading? Are you trying new books this week? Are you reading the big giant Batman Hush 2 books? So let's talk about it down in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful rest of your week.